treat or cure, but they were designed to provide optimal balanced nutrition. When we put this kind of nutrition in people's bodies, some very wonderful things are happening, and we're going to give you a chance right now to hear some of those things that are going on for people across the country. I'll go ahead and mute our lines. Hold on. Okay, well, first we're going to head over to Indiana. It's my pleasure tonight to have with us Deb Andrews, and Deb, we'd love you to come on and share. So
can
Deb,
you hear me, Bill?
Now I can, yes. Go right ahead.
Great. Well, thank you so much for inviting me on this call. I am Deb Andrews from Indiana, and I am an RN by profession. And Relive came into our lives, my husband's and mine, 6 years ago, a little over 6 years, actually. But 3 years prior to that, I had been in an auto accident in which I had sustained back and neck injuries that caused horrible headaches. I'd been through massage therapy, 2 rounds of physical therapy, and acupuncture with really no help whatsoever. And when we got started, I had was interested for my husband because he had heart issues. But let me finish my story really quickly because he has a phenomenal story. In a short time, my energy level was increasing and I was sleeping better. But a little while after that, I had noticed no knots and pain in my back and my neck. And I realized I hadn't had a headache since I started the products. But I was very skeptical for 2 reasons. One, I had been through those therapies that didn't help. And I come from the medical community. And we're inundated with drugs, not nutrition. But here I am, over 6 years later. I can do everything and anything I want to do. Back and neck do not stop me, and I haven't had a headache caused from my back and neck since I started the products. At the time Relive came into my life, I had been an RN for 31 years, had horrible plantar fasciitis. That's very painful feet. Nothing seemed to help. All the wonderful things that Relive was doing for me, I just couldn't understand why my feet weren't getting better. But you know what, Bill? It took 18 months, but next month, February, that will be 5 years ago. I can get out of bed and walk normally. I can run again. I can wear heels. And, you know, it's amazing what our feet support us and take us wherever we want to go. But when they're very painful, it's very difficult. So I am so thankful for Relive coming into our lives. But I had said my husband had heart issues. He had suffered a heart attack in the year 2000 with 60% damage to his heart. And he's got 2 stents. Well, we were going along fine. He was on cardiac meds. He really did not like those meds. Doctor weaned him off of some of those meds over a period of time. But in March of 2009, he went into atrial fibrillation, put him back on those cardiac meds. And in August of 2009 is when Relive came into our life. So he told the doctor when he had his labs, and the doctor thought it was the medication that he had given him. And I was so proud of my husband for saying, no, I believe it's the Relive I added to my regime. His cholesterol had dropped 25 points in about 5 to 6 weeks, in which I can't tell you how many cholesterol medicines the doctor had put him on, that it would only drop 10 to 12 points, but he'd have horrible side effects. That's why the doctor would switch him. And that cardiologist blatantly looked at us that day and said he did not believe that nutrition could do anything like that for the body. So he told us where he stood. Well, by January of 2010, he was weaned off of some of those cardiac meds again. But in September of 2010, he went into atrial flutter. That is a cousin to atrial fib. It's an irregular heartbeat, but this time it put him in the hospital for 4 days. And on discharge, he was going to come home with an external defibrillator. He wore it like a vest. He could only take it off when he showered, but that's when the nurse told me his heart was only pumping 22%. At 25% and lower is when the doctors, will start to consider someone for a cardiac transplant. Totally blew me away. Well, to give you a little side note, I am 5'5", and I take 2 shakes a day. Jim is 6'1", and he was only taking 2 shakes a day. He wasn't feeding his body enough nutrition. So when we got home, I just told him, I said, we're bumping you up. And so we bumped him up to 3 shakes a day. And actually, to get him into the habit of doing 3 shakes a day, I made sure I made his shakes for probably about the first 2 weeks. But as I'm rattling off the different products that I knew he put in his shakes, a brick had to hit me in the head that day. I added one of the products called Provantage, which is created for healthy muscles, and the heart's a muscle none of us can live without. So he very faithfully took his shakes 3 times a day. 6 weeks later, he went back and was retested, and now his heart was pumping 51%. Most of us pump anywhere from 50 to 75%. Nobody pumps 100%. And the same cardiologist, he just couldn't believe it. It was remarkable, he said. And Jim's body was the miracle, but it was because he was finally feeding it enough nutrition that it could start to heal and work the way God created it. So out we went. The defibrillator came off, no talk of surgery, and we went home. He was still on those medications. And that was in October of 2010. In June of 2011, he went back and was retested. His heart was still pumping very well, and that's when the doctor took him off of his Coumadin. At that time, decreased his blood pressure medicine in half. Since has taken him off. He was taken off of his diuretic, and he was taken off of his cholesterol medicines. And, Bill, that was 4 years ago this past June. So 4.5 years ago now that we're in January. And he's doing well, and he still takes his 3 shakes a day, and I'm so proud of him. And I absolutely love sharing this with what it's done for us. But it never ceases to amaze me as a nurse that we all take the basic nutrition. We all are individuals. We all have individual issues, but it works. It helps us because it's optimal nutrition. And so did we make a believer out of our cardiologist? No, but that's okay. We know how we feel. We know, Jim's out. We're supposed to get snow tonight. I don't know how much, but he shovels snow, he mows the grass, he plays with the grandchildren, and, we're just enjoying life. And I do share this and absolutely love helping people get a better health, better quality of health, and finances.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much for being on the call and sharing tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, now we're heading down to South Florida. I have a good friend, Miguel Villamar, with us tonight. And Miguel, you and Dottie have certainly had some good results. We'd love you to come on and share.
Good evening. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. My name is Miguel Villamar. I'm a retired IBMer. I'm also a polio survivor. I had polio when I was 2 years old. It affected my right arm and right leg. But I was always very active. I played baseball in school and played golf for many years. Then when I got to be, 55, I started losing my strength and falling down. And if I tried to play golf, I couldn't finish for a couple of holes. I had to come home. Started sleeping in the living room because I couldn't make it to the bedroom upstairs. Then I was told that I had post-polio syndrome, and there's no cure for that. To save my energy, because once my energy was gone, I was going to be in a wheelchair. I'll tell you, I didn't believe it. But after attending a support group right here in Boca Raton, half of the people in that room were in wheelchairs, and that scared me, and I realized this was for real. So I spent about a year looking for some help, and nothing helped until a doctor friend of ours told us about the Relief products. At that time, I was tired of trying all kinds of nutrition because nothing worked. But he insisted, and finally I said, well, where can I get it? He said, well, you got to get them via distributors. First thing I thought about, multi-level. No, I tried those, nothing worked. But he insisted, said, okay, where can I get it? Well, the closest distributor's in Orlando, Florida. Well, I wasn't going to drive 3.5 hours to buy something I know was not going to help me. But I got home that night. I had a message from my manager asking me if Monday I could go to Orlando to work on a contract between IBM and AT&T. And I tell you, I got chills. I felt like I was being led. And Bill, I was so happy to hear that your guest tonight is Katie Jagger, because that's what I did. I drove to Orlando and I met Katie. And I started taking the products. That was in November 1996. Today, 19 years later, I am not in a wheelchair. I feel like I'm 55 years old, not 75 that I am. My migraines completely disappear. So it has been a wonderful, wonderful ride in really enjoying life. But I'll tell you a real quick one now. About 10 years ago, I was on an IBM trip and I didn't feel well. I had some chest pains. I went to the clinic, and 48 hours later, I had a quintuple bypass. Wow. The doctor after the operation told me I would have to stay in New York for 8 to 10 weeks. But I'll tell you, my wife would sneak into the hospital and bring me the shakes. After 2 weeks, he says, I don't know what's going on, but you can go home. Came back to Boca. Shortly after that, I stopped taking all meds because I was doing so well. Today, the only one that I know in the cardiologist is not taking any medication. Well, move forward now to about a couple of months ago. I didn't feel well, and I got a little scared. He says, been 10, 11 years. They said after the operation that could, you could have problems again. And it was just a cold, but I went and I got an EKG. The doctor came out and said, Mr. Villamar, why are you here? And I told her, and she said, you had a heart attack? I can't believe it. Your EKG is perfect. Let me tell you, this products, the Classic, the Now, the Reverse H, they work. The hand of God is on these products, and I thank him for leading me to them. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Miguel. Appreciate you joining us and sharing. All right. Well, it's my treat tonight to get to introduce you to Catherine Moran. Patty and I got to meet her up in Pennsylvania. And precious gal, she's got some really good results, but she's affected a lot of other lives. And she's brought a couple people with her tonight. So, Catherine, we'd love you to come on and share and introduce a couple people that you've helped along this Relive journey.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Do you want me to share first or have my friends
Why don't you go ahead and have them share, and then we'll have you share your story.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year's. I'm Catherine Moran, and I'm up here in Pennsylvania. And my background is a cosmetologist, hairstylist, barber, and a mother and a grandmother. About 9 years ago, I found out about Relive. I was going through menopause. I was having really bad migraines, and I always had sinus infections since I was a kid, but these migraines were crippling me. And I worked under bright lights, so it was affecting me being able to stay at work. And they started to hire younger people, which really started to scare me. And I heard this a day when I was home and found out about it and decided to call, and it was a radio show that I listened to very faithfully, and the woman had migraine headaches, so I wanted to find out what she was doing and how she was doing it, and I called in and found out. And that woman is one of my dearest friends today. She's helped me many, many ways. My migraines are gone. I haven't had a migraine. That was 9 years ago. I haven't had a migraine in about 8 years. I love that. I don't even get headaches. I had to throw Tylenols that I used to take out because they were expired. I also was going through menopause. They started doing a lot of testing at that time, and I had been gaining weight, and I was never really heavy. I had bone density issues called osteopenia, the beginnings of that, and I thought I had carpal tunnel in my hand, and it was arthritis. And my blood pressure was going up. No, I wonder why I was so scared, all these things that were happening. And blood pressure issues run in my family and my genes. So I was kind of scared, and I wanted to get well. so I could keep working. Instead, I got well. Today I have the bone density. My bone density improved in 7 months, adding something to my shakes, my regular shakes. I got started on the shakes. I didn't have sinus issues. I had them since I was a child. I wasn't that was the first results that I saw, that pressure leaving. And then the migraines got less and less. And then my weight came down. I went from going to a size 16 to a size 12 and stayed there. I'm still there. My blood pressure was coming down. They lowered my medicines twice. And then when splits came into our company, I'm off of the blood pressure med that I was on for quite a few years. And I felt like $100. My bone density improved in 7 months. My OBGYN was blown away, and he said, keep doing what you're doing because this doesn't happen. And so I wasn't going to stop doing what I was doing, and a business was born because people started seeing these changes, and they wanted to know how they could get this stuff. And I really started to share because I wouldn't keep it to myself. I would certainly not just keep it to me and not help other people. And I wanted to see what the company was all about, and I surely did do that. I forgot that you wanted me to introduce Salam and them.
Well, let's have you shared a little bit of your health story. Why don't you have Ginger and Salam share their health story, and then we'll have you come back and share a little bit what's happened to you on the business side.
Yeah. These are some of the people that I shared with. I'm going to go with Salam first. Salam's out in Washington State. And Salam, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. This is Salam. Go ahead, Salam. Share your story.
Hi, Bill. Hi, everybody. Hi. My name is Salam Takramariam. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in March 2014. And in May 2014, I found out that I had a kidney stone. In June 2014, I removed my kidney stone, and in July 2014, I started taking a pill called tamoxifen for my breast cancer, and I had a side effect of a hot flash, and my energy level was low. I was introduced to Relief by my friend Letty in July 2014. I started taking the Relief, and then in October 2014. I went back to the doctor, and the doctor told me that my kidney was inflamed. So in December 2014, I increased my relief products to 3 times a day. And my hot flash stopped, and my energy level is high. Also, my kidney stone is not inflamed anymore. I used to have allergy and asthma since kid. After I started taking the relief product, I did not use any allergy pills, and I did not use any inhaler for my asthma. And I also stopped taking the tamoxifen in April 2014. So now I'm just using the relief product. I'm happy with the product, and I will continue to use the product forever.
That's great.
Thank you, Salam. Thank you very, very much. Mm-hmm. And then we have someone in Texas named Ginger, who is a dear friend, and Ginger's had great results. So, Ginger?
Yes. Hi, Kath. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ginger Martinez, and I live south of San Antonio, Texas. I'm a mom to 4 daughters and an ama to 4 grandbabies. My background includes managerial roles in customer service positions for more than 20 years, so I was pretty independent. That is, up until about 5 years ago when I started experiencing seizures with no known cause. My first seizure was a grand mal, and that seizure required a hospital stay. After about a week in the hospital and after numerous tests, the doctors couldn't diagnose a reason for the seizures. There was no reason why I was having them. They just came on at the spur of the moment. And so that made them unsure of their treatment plan. They tried me on several different medications for the next 3 years, but the side effects were way more than my body could handle. And so the doctors stopped all medication and just decided to let me see how my body would handle the seizures. The state ended up taking away my driver's license, And without being able to drive, I lost my job and I lost my insurance. And then with no money, I lost my residence. So I had to move in with family members. I was no longer independent, and I was no longer living a normal life. It just felt like I was alive but not living, kind of stuck inside the four walls of the house. I ended up having a couple more grand malls that ended up with hospital stays, but my primary seizure is what's called a drop attack, where you just simply fall to the floor. And the treatment plan was just to sleep it off. So the next couple of years, I spent that time going in and out of seizures and just sleeping a lot of days away. But my family was wonderful, and they changed their schedules around the care plan for me. Well, about a year ago, I heard about Relive, and after being on the supplements for a couple of weeks, I started to notice changes. There was a difference. The fog was lifting. I could hold conversations without having to focus on every word that someone was saying. I didn't need to sleep as much because the auras were diminishing, and I was relearning how to do the things that the seizures had stolen from me. And my family noticed a change too. They could tell that I was becoming stronger and getting back to my normal self. Since being on Relive, I haven't had a single seizure. I haven't had any more auras. And the state of Texas has renewed my license, so I'm well on my way to independence again. After my great results, we started our grandson on the children's supplements. He was about a year and a half and had a very weakened immune system. He's been on the products now for about 8 months, and he's doing wonderful. We no longer have to make the monthly trips to the ER, no more weekly visits with his doctor. All of his respiratory issues have cleared up. He can breathe without any of his asthma medications. There's no more chronic congestion in his lungs or his sinuses, no more rashes, no more allergies. He's just a healthy, thriving 2-year-old, and we could not be happier. Relive brought back health and stability to our lives, and we're blessed to have found it when we did. And we are going to continue to share the story so that others can live the life that they were meant to live. And I want to thank you, Bill, for allowing me to share my story.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Ginger. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Kat.
That's the gift that of hope that I was given in my story, and having the ability to share it and not keep it to myself. Changing hairstyles was wonderful, but not as wonderful as this. And born because people whose hair I cut were seeing differences in me and family. Some of my family, not all, but some of my family saw difference, and they wanted to know how they could get started, and they got started, and it just shared, like, there are so many stories like this that are happening in people's lives. I also have the bone density of a 30-year-old in my 60s. Just had my 14th grandchild. I can keep up with my grandkids pretty darn good, and I love how I feel today. But with the business being born, going through a big change in my life, this has been a lifesaver for me, and I know it was an answer to prayers, not just the health and wellness, but also the finances. My first year I was paying for my consumption. I won a $500 bonus. I did hair for almost 30 years. I never won a $500 bonus, and I did this by helping people. And in 2013, I did second in the nation, helping people, working really hard because I wanted to feed. There's something in our company called the Calogris Foundation where we feed the hungry children, undernourished children in the world. And I made that my goal during Christmas that year. In January and February, I had won it back to back and did second in the nation. And I won a $4,000 bonus. My highest check was over $7,000 that month. I can't tell you, people, how long and many hours I would have had to work to do that in a month. With hair, I would never have made that money. I love what I do today. I love the ability to make a difference in people's lives so significantly that You heard Ginger's story. You heard Salam's story. I've been moved to tears many times and on my knees thanking God that I had a heart and like I would hear Bob Montgomery say it on the stage at our conferences. Don't go out there and show people how much you know, and show them how much you care. And that went right to my heart. I knew this was something that I wanted to do. I've doubled my income, and instead of them letting me go, hiring younger people and letting me go, I let them go. And I'm working this full time now, and I absolutely love that I can do this and take time. And kids being born and go to plays and go to basketball games or soccer games. It's absolutely been a blessing for me. And I will never, ever stop sharing this with people.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming on and bring Ginger and Salam with you. Appreciate you so much. Your heart's in the right place, and that's what makes this business one of the wonderful things that it is. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you for this call, Bill. It's the best and my favorite.
Well, thank you. Well, I have one more guest, and what a treat for me to get to introduce you to Katie Yeager. Katie is a Presidential Bronze Ambassador, a large title. For those of you who don't know what that means, she's certainly had good results herself and in her family, but she's reached out and made a difference in a lot of people's lives. Katie was one of the very first people that Patty and I met when we first came into Relive, and she's one of the people who was responsible for our early training in Relive and part of why we fell in love with Relive. So we really appreciate Katie, and it's a great honor for us to have her with us. Katie, we'd love you to share.
Well, thank you, Bill and Patty, and it's a privilege to be on your call. I swear it is one of the best calls ever, and to hear the stories tonight it was moving and brought tears to my eyes, too, and it was just one person in your life. If you change their life, it makes it all worthwhile, and hearing Miguel Philomar on tonight just, makes that really special to be part of this company and do what we do, so... But my journey in Relive actually started 1992, in December of 1992. So just basically had an anniversary not too long ago, a few weeks ago. And I honestly thought I was healthy. I didn't think I needed this product, but my girlfriend kept sharing different things it was doing for her and her family. And when she told me about her daughter was 11 years old, had been diagnosed with ADHD. And I knew her daughter, she was a handful. And Barbara had opted to use the Relive products instead of putting her on the drug Ritalin that the doctors had recommended. And a week later, she came back and told me, my goodness, I saw results almost overnight. That Jennifer's mood swings had leveled out. Her grades were starting to go from C's and D's to A's, and teachers were excited. And I thought, oh, my goodness, maybe this would be good for my children. I had a 7-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. They weren't ADD, but we always had confrontations around the dinner table about eating the right things and getting that right nutrition in their bodies. And I thought, here's a great way maybe they could drink these shakes and cover their bases. So I bought some, I believe, as I recall, it was a can of Classic. I brought it home, thinking, well, I'll find a way to get it into my children. And my husband is the one who took a look at the can and said, wow, maybe I could lose a few pounds with this. And actually, the reason, though, he was gaining weight, Bill, he had been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease when he was in his 20s. We met at Ohio State, where we were in school, university there, and moved to Orlando to start his optometric practice down here. And about 2 years later, he was diagnosed with this disease called psoriatic arthritis. And it was devastating. We were newlyweds, and the prognosis down the road was a wheelchair. It was earth-shattering. But we started to battle it with over-the-counter medications, and then eventually Joe had to go on some pretty high-powered medications through a rheumatologist. And blood work had to be monitored every 6 weeks to make sure his liver wasn't being damaged, and on, because every drug you take, there's side effects. And it did help relieve the pain a little bit, but not enough to really, allow him to start doing things physically, and he started gaining weight. So when he started Classic, it was basically for weight loss. And lo and behold, he already had started having anxiety attacks as well, 3 and 4 times a week, debilitating anxiety attacks, usually during the night, but then they start happening during the day and even while he was driving, which was very frightening. So these things were going on. We had no answers. We'd been to doctors for a year and a half about the anxiety attacks with no answers. He was on high-powered medications from the rheumatologist. Started on the classic, and almost overnight, the anxiety attacks they ceased, and they've never reoccurred in the last 24 years now. So that cleared up really quickly. I hesitate to always tell people how fast that happened because it doesn't always happen that quickly, but it did for him. And then about 3 weeks into taking just the basics, the classic, and I think he mixed it with apple juice because that's what Dr. Ted had told us was the best juice to mix it with. He came home one night after working all day and being patient. He said, "Look at my hands." He could make a fist with his hands. And if he hadn't been able to grab a grapefruit, that's how swollen and painful it was. So to be able to clench a fist was monumental. And I'll never forget, he said to me, he says, "We need to investigate this company." He says, "I have not felt this good in years." He said, "How could nutrition be helping me when all these drugs and medications, which I, as the doctor thought would be the answer?" So that's when we decided to travel to St. Louis. There was a conference coming up very shortly in the spring, and we ended up flying to meet the doctors, meet the corporate team, and I'll tell you what, I came home excited. I saw hundreds of people getting results. I saw people making incredible incomes just by helping other people get healthy. And we sat down and signed that distributorship. We went to the master affiliate, or the highest profit margin at that time, because we were using a lot of product as a family. I had started the products by that time. My daughter had been diagnosed with cerebral palsy at a year-old, and she was my 11-year-old. I thought this could be wonderful for her. And my son had kind of hypoglycemic issues, and so he had started on the products. I had seen results with that almost overnight. So we decided, even if we weren't going to sell any of this, we could take it at the best price as a family. But I'll tell you what, when I saw things start to happen with my husband and my children and myself and the results from the conference, I couldn't keep quiet about it. And I just started sharing everything I'd seen and heard, and almost within 8 weeks, I was making the same amount of money in Relive as I was making in my dental hygiene career. And I'd always thought, in the back of my mind, I might be the breadwinner of our family because my husband, his disease was getting so bad that he was fearing he might lose his profession as an optometrist. And I knew I'd never be able to support the family on a dental hygiene career, so I was kind of looking for a plan B. And when I went to that conference and saw people just making incredible incomes by helping others, I thought, this is my plan B. But then within 8 weeks, my income jumped to what I was doing in dental hygiene, and I thought, this is crazy. I should be doing Relive full time and let that hygiene career go. I took a leap of faith. I knew I'd never make what the dentist made if I stayed in that career, and I knew that sky was the limit if I did Relive. So I walked away from dental hygiene and jumped headfirst into Relive. I started doing the weekly meetings, the weekly trainings, and the phone calls, and all the things that we all do to make our businesses grow. And within a very short time, I was starting to earn good income. And actually, at the 4-year point of my career, I was earning it was between $4,000 and $8,000 monthly. And I look back and I think, oh my goodness, if I hadn't started that, where I'd be today, because today, I'm divorced. I'm a single woman, and I don't have my husband's career and that income coming in, but I have Relive. But just to go back to finish the story about our health, Joe ended up being able to get off all the medications he was on. He weaned himself off the 2 medications he was on through the rheumatologist and continued to improve. Today, his practice is thriving. He's still working or practicing, seeing patients. He's playing golf. He's playing, sports and doing things he never thought he'd ever be able to do. My children are 30 and 34 now and healthy. My daughter is doing extremely well. She's the one who had the cerebral palsy, has been through 3 surgeries, but with remarkable results with the products in her body. And she's an electrical engineer, and they've sent her overseas to work with a defense company that she works for. My son's doing extremely well too. So anyway, it's just, I look back on all my family and all the attributes that this product has given them in their health. And in the meantime, my business continued to grow. I did hit the presidential level, and my check went over $12,000 monthly. And as a single woman now, I have no boss and no employees. I just have wonderful friends all over the world, allowing me to work with them and help them. And just, it's so rewarding because every dollar I earn, I know someone's health has been touched or someone's life financially has been touched. And I just thank God every day that I was introduced to this product and I took advantage of it to help others. And that's what I hope I can share tonight on this call, is encourage others to look deeper into what Relive has to offer. So.
You did it beautifully, Katie. It's so true. Wow. It's all about making a difference in other people's lives. And yes. How rewarding is that? That's the check of the heart that most people don't get to cash in on. And it's huge in Relive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love that part of Relive, making a difference. And wow, the friendships and relationships that we built. Here we met, and we'll be lifelong friends. It's amazing, the friendships. And you and Miguel continue. It's a lifelong friendship that's developed in Relive.
Absolutely. Just wonderful people, and just thank you and Patty for all the work you do. And I know this call is part of Relive, and we so appreciate your efforts in doing this every Sunday.
Yeah, it's called The Stories of Hope. So many people have lost hope, for their health and for their finances and for a variety of other things. Some people are just plain bored, and the relationships that we build, the connections that we build are priceless. And so much to love about Relive. Great time to be involved in Relive. This is a particularly good month for people who are looking at getting involved in the business side of Relive. There's things that are available this month